Mutt Lang famously produced all those great Def Leppard records in the 80s and produced this session for Pyromania. So was Pyromania, to my ear, that's kind of the record that Mutt Lang became the Mutt Lang that we think of him as. Because when you listen to like Back in Black or Highway to Hell or that Foreigner record he did, or even like the first Def Leppard record, the High and Dry that he did, sound very sonically pretty different than what Pyromania was and kind of everything he did after it. Does that ring true for you? And if so, why? Like, what did he start doing different there?
So earlier on, High and Dry was still, you could hear other bands in. You could hear AC/DC, you could hear this other stuff. I think when Pyromania came along, it was like something different. You know, Mutt realised that you could work with these guys, they'd be malleable. They wouldn't be like, I ain't doing that. You know, they would, and just even working with him, it was like a beautiful learning experience. I love sitting next to him for hours, weeks, years on end, you know, just going, well, why is that cool and why isn't that cool? And he go, well, you know, listen to the backbeat. It's like a Motown thing. It's like, it kind of almost lazy. And the melody, why would you do that? That's destructing. The lyric has got to mean, crazy, like going to school for your favourite subject. And he, always the best singer in the room. I mean, he sings on all our stuff, sings on you hear him on AC/DC, Bryan Adams, all Shania stuff, everything. He's got always the best voice in the room. He would just do one take and you'll go, whoa. Same with guitar playing. You go, well, how'd you do that? You go, yeah, look, let me just, and he'd just do something. You go, geez. He's just kind of has this thing. So it was just great to work with him and we put so much faith in him. But I think with Pyromania, it was the band's own sound. All of a sudden, you know, the earlier albums had their own thing going, but it wasn't big enough. And I think, you know, High and Dry, yeah, you could hear the AC/DC singing, but with Pyromania, it only sounded like Def Leppard.
Right.
And it was bigger.
Is there any truth? I've heard for years that he would do stuff in the studio, like to record a full chord, he would record each string individually. Like, are any of those kind of things about Mutt Lang true?
Yeah, so on that album, you know... improperly in tune, but... you would get so much distortion from the amps, he would break those down. So you go, you'd literally play them like that, so it gives it clarity. And it's only on the odd thing, like it's the song Hysteria, where it goes, gotta know tonight, you're alone tonight. That, we actually broke that down. And my friend, who's a guitar player, came in the studio in Dublin while we were going, and he's like, what are you doing? And it's like, well, Mutt was like, we don't want it to sound like a keyboard, but we don't want all of the strings ringing, so we want it to be a different sound. So it was kind of creating a uniqueness on that one. So it was either clarity or uniqueness. It wasn't all the way through. It was just like the odd section on each song.
Right.
And they were two prime examples, really, of that single string thing, just to get the clarity or just to get something that's unique.
Is that something that he had done on other records, or was he literally just kind of figuring that out as you guys went along?
He would make things up on the fly. So like there's another song, Armageddon, I'd forgotten we actually even did this, and he said, oh, tubular bell thing, but do it on harmonic. So it was like all these harmonics going off, and I'd have to tune each string, bing, and then we'd drop in a dong and ding. And I forgot all about it until we were doing the residency, and I had to learn all that, and I had it on headphones, and it's like, oh, I remember that afternoon we were goofing around with that. So yeah, a lot of it would all add to it. It was ear candy without being gratuitous, and I think that's the main thing. It had to have either a melody or a groove, or it would compensate or help out a vocal. I mean, that was the other thing. It was always for the good of the song. In support of the vocal, yeah. It's the funny thing about making records and then going out and playing them, especially older records where, you work on something like you're talking about, that one time in the studio for an hour, and then 15 years go by and you have to go back and like isolate the track and go figure, what the hell did we do? How did we do that? Yeah. Well, one of the biggest one, the song Love Bites, it was a studio song. We'd never even played it all the way through. It was just like, oh, okay. Album comes out. song goes to #1 on Billboard and we're on tour and it's like, ew, we got to learn it. And it's really hard at first, you know, you're trying to sing this stuff, you know. When you make love, do you look in the mirror? You're doing all this stuff and it's really hard to do. So we dropped the key, made the 4 guitar parts 2, and whoever could sing certain parts, we would do that. And we literally had to go into a rehearsal room in Vancouver for 2 days. And we was scared shitless because it was like, we're not going to pull this off. But we managed it, and it's easy now. But it's just a lot of work on it that you have to do.
Yeah, and then you have to go play it on TV.
Yes.
In like the most unforgiving environment ever.